Hello and welcome to the final Media7 for 2011. I'm Russell Brown and we're coming to you from the AUT University studio in Auckland. We have a lineup of media achievers you can believe in, ready to extract insight like a fine espresso from the grounds of 2011. But first, here's how Jose Barbosa saw the year.
As the year ticks over yet again, you'd be forgiven for feeling psychically drained and emotionally violated.
Hacked to death.
No idea why somebody just hasn't taken the shotgun there and just cleaned out the entire newsroom.
I am on a drug, it's called Charlie Sheen.
Sergeant at Arms, please be involved.
They vie for the most coveted trophy.
Investigative journalism was alive and well this year with Matt McLean's startling revelation about the Prime Minister's activities outside of business hours.
This is Max, a Kiwi teenager planking. And this is his dad, the leader of our country, Prime Minister John Key.
Oh, look, the photo speaks for itself. I've got no other comments to make.
McLean wasn't going to be sweet talk like that. Facing official pressure to shut the story down, he kept digging.
Sure, now, first you need to find a platform, in this case a desk. Then you lie flat, hands by your side, toes pointed, and take a photo.
Campbell Live.
Normally avuncular, John Campbell is usually the perfect on-screen chum.
It's strangers turning up with baking.
He's part serious journalist, part harmless dad joke generator. But in his interview with weather troll Ken Ring, Campbell bought the ruckus.
Now, if you add 3 days either side to those dates, you cover off the entire month.
But regardless of Campbell's argument, to everyone watching it looked like he was whipping an elderly man in the street.
I should have kept my heart out of it, or kept it under control. And as many of you have pointed out, I should have let Mr. Ring speak. You're right, I should have. He was our guest.
It was a bumper year for local television production, the high point, as always, being the long-running baby boomer chat show The Beat Goes On.
Another day and some pretty terrible weather, isn't it?
I never worry about the weather. I don't worry about nothing.
Hosted by professional hard case Jared Smith, the program's a weekly course in intense small talk. The queen of this being show regular Rose Rees-Morgan.
She's attractive, she's smart, she knows what she wants. She's every woman on the right side of 50.
She's a sort of life-size Fraggle Rock puppet who's the source of spiritual enlightenment on the show.
Everything to me is just one. There is just one. And once you become one with that, there is only is. Because there is only is.
But perhaps nothing sums up where our media is in this year of mentalness like a teeth-grinding segue.
He hadn't changed his mind about the existence of God, but he added, I do like surprises.
Oops, she's about to do it again. Britney Spears.
She's right, you know. There is only is. But anyway, I'm joined now by the host of TVNZ's Backbenchers, Wallace Chapman, stand-up star and 7 Days stalwart, Michelle Court, and Radio Hauriki's Dude on Drive, Matt Heath. Hello. Welcome to you all, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, good to be here. Very good to be here. Chin chin.
Cheers.
And well done on the... Very good, Russell.
Thank you.
Very good.
Now, Wallace, I think people used to assume that Backbenchers was solely and specifically a Wellington phenomenon, that couldn't work unless it was across the road from Parliament. Yeah. I went to your Auckland Central show, the recording of. It was riotous and remarkable. Was it good for you?
You know, this dispels the myth that young people are not interested in politics, because they damn well are. You know, given the right environment and the right tone, information, they are. And so, yes, it was riotous. I had to turn my, what you call, comms up to the max. You got people like Winston Peters in the audience like this, going to me.
I saw him, Winston Peters, with circled by young women the entire
Circled by
night.
young women, coming up to me and goes, Wallace, I goes, oh, Winston, get me on. I said, I can't get you on, Winston, because we've got our panellists. You listen here. You listen here. Because who's he? I said, well, that's David Seymour. He's the ACT candidate. He goes, why is he there? Because he's standing for Auckland Central. You listen here. And so we had a half an hour chat with Winston Peters.
Adorable, isn't he?
You listened here 5 times. He is adorable, actually.
Yeah, charming.
But I said to him, I went back to my boss and I said, my argument is, Winston, you need to get 3.1% and then you can be on my show. Wow. History.
He showed you.
History. He showed me.
But I have to say, quite seriously, yours is the only show where we generally see anyone outside the 6 or 8 ministers and a couple of opposition people who tend to be on television. That's quite valuable.
I'm really proud of it, actually. I'm really proud of it. I mean, I could come here now and tell you the highlights of the show would be, you know, the Associate Minister of Health, Peter Dunn, planking. You know, or Keith Locke, Green Party, rolling a chronic joint and not doing it very well. And Peter Dunn looking over going, could do better. But that's not the highlights are getting those voices who never get the time of day. People like Kevin Haig, people like Charles Savell, Chester Burrows, people like Catherine Delahunty, or just those voices. There's 120 plus of them. And it's not just the Paula Bennett's or the Bill Englishes or John Key. So that's what I'm most proud about, absolutely.
Has it started to dawn on some of those national MPs that this isn't going to be there for them after June next year?
Well, the usual assumption is this. He goes, because what we're seeing now is across the caucus now on both sides, on all divides, there's an assumption that shows like this show and backbenchers will continue, and they'll go, oh, well, so when 7 closes down, what format were you going? I said, well, there is no more. He goes, you're joking. Yeah. And I said, well, no. No, I'm not joking. It all goes, and maybe that the assumption might dawn on them when we get closer to the middle of 2012. But no, it's shows like this and Backbenchers and other shows on 7, they have eyeballs watching, I can tell you that right now.
Now, Michelle, a lot of people watch a show that you're on, 7 Days, which got there and took out the television award. That must have been nice.
Yeah, and sort of kind of overdue in a way, partly because everybody cried, well, some of them through things, when we didn't win it last year, the first time that we were nominated. But, you know, fair enough. But it is a program that we've been trying to make, and when I say we, I mean the comedian community, industry, if you can be as fancy as that, for years. Like, this is a format that we've been doing live and then taking to broadcasters.
We discussed it very early on in the history of this show, and the conclusion that came out of it was we need a panel show like the ones they've got in Britain. They develop talent for TV. They're good for the industry. Is that what's happened? Yeah,
totally. And you know, when you travel around the country doing gigs, as we always have done, people will say, "Wow, New Zealand comedy just got really good," and we're going, "Well, actually, it was quite good, and we were making a living, and no one was starving to death." But you're getting to see it now, and it's had a tremendous effect on improving the work prospects in other areas, corporate work, and you turn up to do a gig in Whanganui or somewhere, and they know who some of the people are because they've been on 7 Days.
I have to say, by the same token, when John Bridges accepted the award, he paid tribute to the professionalism of the comedy profession. So it is the case that was there first.
Yeah, I think so. It grew out of what we were doing live and became something that, you know, was an idea that had been simmering away for a very long time. Yeah, the only thing I would like to change about it is that you're only allowed to have 1 woman a week, because apparently apparently Alistair Thompson was their consultant when they were putting the panels together, and apparently if you put more than 1 woman on at a time, their menstrual cycles go in sync and you ruin the set. So, but I think we could find ways around it.
Messes with the picture. Right. Well, on to Matt Heath, who's there doing it for the blokes.
Yeah.
You made the big jump this year from student radio, 95 BFM, where you kind of do what you wanted, to commercial radio. How's that been?
Well, it's interesting because you're on BFM, and you know, I was on there for a few years doing the drive show, and then I did the breakfast show. And you're always sort of told that commercial radio is this kind of evil thing that you're sort of rebelling against and you're fighting it. And so, you know, I was doing the breakfast show, and then I got a ring up from Hauraki, and they said, come in for a meeting. And I was sort of, I don't know. And then I went in there and signed up, and it was awesome. It's like they're really nice people. It's kind of like this weird sort of propaganda that they're evil because they're commercial radio. They're just people that love radio. They just get paid really well, so they're really happy. Whereas on where I came from, there's a lot of volunteers, and volunteers are normally not happy. And the people that aren't volunteering are even less happy because they're getting paid a pathetic wage. So that was the first thing I noticed. I went in to started working there, and everyone's stoked. You know, then
So
they're making money.
What was harder for you, not swearing or playing a U2 record?
Well, see, it's interesting because
Ricky?
In my whole life when I was growing up, I thought if I had kids, I'd just be totally loose and I'd swear in front of them and it wouldn't be a big deal. And as soon as I had kids, that just went out the window, and I don't swear in front of my kids. So I was lucky enough to have a few years with young kids before I did commercial radio, learning how to not swear, because swearing's been a big part of it. Playing the U2 records, I don't like that. But then there was a lot of stuff on BFM that I didn't like playing. And, you know, one thing that used to happen to me on BFM all the time, because, you know, my favourite bands, I like AC/DC, Nirvana, you know, Soundgarden, bands like that, Led Zeppelin. So I'd often get texts coming in, why don't you piss off to Hauraki if you're going to play that stuff? And so I did. So on one level I was coming home, really. I didn't know that was my home, but I feel like it is. And I was actually an eyesore on BFM. And then
Did you have to become a bit more serious, though?
No, if anything, less. Because, like, say if you're interviewing a politician on BFM, you're expected to actually ask quite good questions, because there is a level of that audience that expects that, and there's a history of it. But if you're interviewing a politician on Hauraki, you just go,
how's your cat?
Yeah, what kind of beers do you like, man? You know, I've got David Shearer on my show tomorrow. I won't be asking him, I won't have to prepare difficult questions. I'll probably talk about surfing and what rock music he liked when he first saw poor people on the other side of the world, you know, that kind of thing. You know, it's easier in that regard, you know.
You're going to ask the hard questions about surfing.
I will.
Well, we'll take a break now and be back soon to drizzle Sam's special savoury sauce over the media carcass of 2011.